Hello and welcome to Starting Points, and one thing leads to another. I've got an example of that for you. Remember me showing you this book? Well, when I went to put it away, I said, this nest, this robin's nest, I recognize that's a robin. And I thought to myself, I know the robin. I've seen the robin through my whole life, wherever I was living. And yet, I know so little about it. When it rains, I've seen 100 of them on a school playground getting the worms that are driven up as their holes fill with water. But other than eating worms, I don't know very much about them. In fact, I don't know very much about even the common animals that I see around where I live. Deer, squirrels, raccoons, and other birds like owls, hummingbirds. So what I decided that I wanted to do was to try to balance things a little bit. Because I realized in school, so much of the work we do is based on the accomplishments of humans, their history, their math, their science and discoveries, and their literature. And so in this series, I'll probably bounce back and forth between looking at animals and the natural world, those that share this planet with us, and things that men have done. So we've looked a little bit at tree houses and birds. Many of them build their nests in trees. Now, not all of them. I learned that in this book, Secrets of the Nest. Well, I didn't learn it because I knew that ducks, for example, build their nests on the ground out in the open. And many other birds build their nests at the ground level, or a little higher in bushes, or even higher, or way at the top. We had a Cooper's hawk build a nest in some pine trees at the side of our house. Fascinating. We saw the whole birthing of the babies and them learning to fly. So this book explained to me, it didn't have a index at the back, but it had a table of contents. And the table of contents actually suffices, because what Joan Dunning has done, now she not only wrote this book in a quite magical way. In fact, when I started reading about the robins, I said, boys, I'd like to read this whole thing aloud to you guys, but I'm not going to do that. Don't worry. But she's a fantastic writer, but she's also an illustrator. She does these beautiful pen and ink illustrations and includes a dozen paintings or so. So in this, she's broken bird's nest into 6 categories, which I'd never really thought about. Ground nest, yeah, okay. Platform nests, like that Cooper's hawk, though she doesn't look at the Cooper's hawk, but she tells what she does look at: egrets and herons. And where my school was located, we could go for a walk past a heronry. In fact, some man living up on the 6th floor had a live stream video going of the life in the heronry. We'd be out on the playground in the spring, and the herons would be flying over with things to build their nests. Quite fascinating. Burrowing nests. Well, I knew about the belted kingfisher from a poem. The burrowing owl, I'd seen pictures of it. Cavity nests, wood duck, certain owls, woodpeckers, of course. Cup nest. First one in cup nest is the American robin. And she spends 10 pages writing about the American robin. So there's lots of learning went on for me. And this was a great source. And the last kind of nest she mentions is the pendulous nest. Now, she mentions the northern oriole. And I remember the first time I saw a pendulous nest where I live, here. And I thought, oh, that must be an oriole's nest. But it wasn't, because it was a bush tit's nest. And I've seen their nests many times since. And but she doesn't do all the birds, but she does a fair representation. The other 3 books I want to go through fairly quickly and just give you the titles. The Bird's Woodland, beautifully illustrated as well with pen and ink drawings. And one of the neat things in this book is it talks about those tiers. The birds that build their nests at ground level, or they're up in branches, up in the canopy, like hawks. The birds. In this book that the Time Life publishers did in a whole nature library, looks a little bit at territory. How birds come, when they come to an area, to make their nesting and marital home, try to stake out territory. It's going to be their territory. And it's a fascinating book. The editors of this must have thought at some point, or somebody came up with this idea and said, you know, we've done so much work on this, and this is such a fascinating series. I wonder if we could revise it and make it so it's more easily understood by, say, an 11 or 12 or 13-year-old. And they did that and put out the series in that format for young readers. So this is the one on birds. So I just mentioned these as resources of nonfiction information that you could find on some of the other life on the planet that depends upon trees. Well, thanks for joining me. Until next time, bye for now.